It was probably in the first one. And of course, we have the electrical team who comes once a month to check the generator and the ACs. We have the social media guy, the security, my next will check our fire extinguisher and install them. So if there's a fire, I mean, since there's no fire station, we might as well be ready for in-house, etc. So yeah, it's a teamwork. So I guess now it's the Q&A.
Thank you. Let's give Karina a hand. So you've really done a very good job in explaining to us everything there is to to know, but I think we have to digest it a little bit because yeah, and yeah, no pun intended here. The thing is that I get the sense, and I'm sure the audience gets the sense as well, is how difficult it is to operate in Haiti, right? But you're proving that it can be done because you are doing it. And it's because you, Michigan, well, she's a Michigan person. That's all there is to it. But really, so your perseverance, your passion, really, because you have a passion for not just, the work that you're doing, but how you're benefiting the people you're working with and how you're able to kind of make their lives better. And so I want you to kind of maybe go a little, just for maybe a minute or so, give us a story, if you can, of maybe one of those people, one of those girls or women or ladies who do this such difficult work. What is their lives like? I mean, what is it about them? I mean, why do they do what you want to do? Or certainly I would never do or can't do.
Okay, so there's one of them actually. I'm going to go back. Her name is, she's here. She's on the first photo with the purple shirt. You don't see her very well.
Yep.
Her name is Jocelyn Diomet. We actually hired her as a cleaner, as housekeeper. She used to actually cross the border every morning and go clean at some people in DR, in the Dabon. They will just come get it. So if they come and get you, you don't need a passport or anything. If you just go work and bring her back. And at some point, I think the lady in the house lost some money and assumed she had stolen it, put her in prison. And finally, when her brother said, "Oh, I came while you were not there and took the money," that's when she was so pissed. She's like, "I know I'm poor, but I don't want to be added as a stealer, like a thief." So that's when she quit the job, and then she heard about we're looking for a housekeeper. But she's super smart, and now she got upgraded. She's one of our packager, and she's soon to become one of our quality control person. She cannot yet. She doesn't know how to read, so we have to teach her how to read. But she does an excellent work from cleaning, and I'm like, oh my God, she's my favorite employee because when she cleans, it's so well done, and she followed direction, and in some way I see myself in her because I remember when I used to work in corporate America, if my boss tells me something, I do it. I mean, if there must be a reason why he asked or she asked, I do it, and we're all happy. Often you have to do like, why do you have to do that, this, like that? You ask her, you say, Jocelyn, that, it gets done. I want it this way, it gets done. So I think, and she has 3 children. I think and that's when I realized when I'm in this field, practice a lot of voodoo or a lot of these natural healing. Like the kids fall, I cannot come to work today. I have to take the kid to the buckle. Really? But really, I mean, it's a different world. Granted, but she does her work fine. She wears her gloves when she works. She does it on time. She always show up. If she cannot show up, she won't. And we usually give a cake at everyone's birthday. And she was like, okay, Corinne, instead of having a cake, can I actually have a phone because I have no phone. So I'm like, okay, it's about the same price. The cake was 1,000 gold. Well, I mean, the simple really is 980 gold. Fine, we won't have the cake. Well, they'll probably get a cake for Christmas anyway. But, yeah. So I think she went from being just respected in DR to having a job where She's grown for just being the cleaner, the janitor, to now being one of the lead production employees, given responsibility. Sometimes if the head of production has to go out at the bank at payroll time, we leave her with her in charge of the newer employee. We get her to train the newer employee. I think it's an improvement.
How long over what period of time? I mean, I know it's been over a year, so over what period of time
So,
to move up?
so she started probably in December last year. So this December it's a year for her. We had another housekeeper. That's again Haiti. I didn't have a chance to work a lot with her, so I don't know how she was. But after a month, she didn't. She said she couldn't come back to work because her husband didn't want her to work. That's an issue we're dealing with a lot. That especially in the Northeast and when I'm in, men expect they should be working, and the women just stay at home cooking and taking care of the kids. They should be giving money. She says she can't come back to work. Her husband doesn't want her to work. So, especially the manager was a male, so he didn't want her to be in the house where a manager was male. So, yeah.
Yeah, that too.
That's it. So I can tell you stories from I don't know. But yeah, I think Jocelyn is doing a great job, and I think it's a good opportunity that she may not have given. Maybe she would have waited again to find another. Maybe you have to go back to a dealer company since it's a revenue for her. She has 3 children. She has to take care of them, and luckily her husband let her work. So yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Corinne. So the next thing that I'd like to know is to kind of draw a bridge between your product, the quality of the product, because clearly to develop this product in Haiti, when you showed us a diagram before in terms of the quality and the specialized version, it was by itself in the top right corner, right? So it wasn't the big dog corner. Like, basically it was the high end. So basically it was the Ferrari, and all the Volkswagens were on that end, right? So, but here you have one of your customers, right? So I want to know from the customer standpoint, a validation, if you will, about both the quality of the product and the reasonableness of the product, right? Because there has to be some reasonableness in terms of what you pay and how you can, et cetera. But give us an idea to understand that, please.
Sure. So when Corinne talks about cacao from Haiti, it's very rare. We have had only one bar ever from Haiti, and it's the Pink Bonat bar, and it has been one of the more unique products in the store. People come in and they say, "Oh, you have a bar from Haiti," and people love it. So when Corinne first came to the store, I was thrilled because we really focus on getting new origins in. There is a lot of cacao from Dominican Republic. There is a lot of cacao from Ecuador, a lot of cacao from Grenada, from Trinidad, from Jamaica, of course from the west coast of Africa, and Madagascar. So Corinne brought the product, and we do get a lot of samples. There are not that many stores like us that focus just on chocolate. And the other thing about us is that you can find some chocolates at Whole Foods, but it's going to be hard to find someone at Whole Foods who can tell you about them. You have to read all the packages yourself and decide, is this good, is this bad, or like this, or not. At our store, everyone is an expert. Everyone knows about chocolate. They can talk to you about it, tell you what it tastes like. We can give you samples of it, and we can also tell you the story of the bar, of the company, what they do, where they operate from, who they are. And like I said, so we have many people who come in and bring us samples. Many of them are good. Many of them are bad. There's a steep learning curve with making chocolate, as I'm sure Corinne knows. It's very difficult. It's very expensive, and it's very hard. So we take into consideration how the chocolate is made, where it comes from, what the relationship of the farmer to the maker is. Almost all of our chocolate is bean to bar. So like Askanya, the makers are buying, whether they're in the U.S. or whether they're in Haiti or Mexico, they're buying the beans, either wet or dry, roasting, winnowing, grinding, conching, molding, everything themselves. So when we got the chocolate, we don't have there's no other comparison to this product. We don't have another product from Haiti. And I just was instantly, totally into it. And I eat a lot of chocolate. And I have we have probably over 800 unique products in our store, different chocolate products, over 100 different makers from all around the world. So you can trust me. I eat a lot of chocolate. I know. And what's great about Askanya is that you can really, it's shocking that they've only been in business for 1 year. They've only been operating for 1 year making chocolate. Because oftentimes we see a maker, they come to us in their first year and we say, like, honestly, come back to us in 2 years. Or come back to us next year. Like, come back to us with another product. You need more practice. Like, you're not roasting right, or something's going on. You're not getting good quality beans. Obviously, Corinne's getting great quality beans, the same beans that go to this Bonat bar, which, by the way, is like $20. Okay?
Wow.
So it's an expensive bar. What I like about this is also my favorite bar is the Rapidou. That's by far, it's the one I recommend the most. It has this chocolate has an incredible amount of depth, a big round flavor, and a really good chocolate flavor, which sounds obvious, right? You know, like it's chocolate. But there are some chocolates that don't have this breadth and depth of flavor and earthiness. And then the Rapidou is another, it's totally Haitian brown sugar, Haitian cacao. And that's very special. And it calls to our customers who want to know about the story of the chocolate and want to eat something different, something they can't find anywhere else. And also just has this, I don't know if everyone maybe tasted it or some of you chose it, it has this wonderful butterscotchy brown sugar kind of lovely flavor. You have to try it.
We have mouths watering here for the people who want to hear.
So I do have to totally back up, you know, this graph here is that, Askanya is definitely based on the quality of the cacao beans and also the quality of the manufacturing. It is in the top tier. And also, price-wise, it's extremely competitive. It could be more expensive. It could be much more. I mean, but I'm here. What I'm saying is the value is high, and so you know, there's always a balance. Like we're saying, you don't want something to be priced way too high, but you also don't want to undervalue a product that's good, and you don't want a product that's good for people to think that it's cheap. That's sometimes the problem. And I'm very honest with makers who sometimes are concerned about their prices. You know, we need to find a balance where consumers are comfortable buying it. They're not, they can buy it and they're able to buy it, but also that they understand the value of the bar. Because in our store, it's not just, you know, candy. It's not. We have to educate people on. It's like wine. Everyone knows now you can go to Trader Joe's and buy a bottle of wine for $5. But that is not a bottle of wine that you're going to bring to a wedding or a party, right? That's pure wine. So then that's fine.
So
you know, if you need M&M's, that's good. If you need M&M's, there's no problem with eating M&M's. You're allowed to eat M&M's. Yeah.
In a movie theater, but not at a high-end party.
But there's a difference, a huge difference. And so when you're buying chocolate and you want a chocolate experience, or you want to present a chocolate bar as a gift, you want a product with a story, and obviously a product that's high quality. And so you can eat everything.
Thank you, Marisol. So a couple of things came up here, and I'm gonna make a point on them, and then I'm gonna open up questions to the audience, so you can also get a chance to ask a question. So, I mean, you know, Gilles in the beginning, introducing Corinne, started saying it. Basically, you know, she's modest. She won't toot her own horn, so we get to do it for her. You know, you can tell that what Marisol just said, which she confirmed Corinne's quadrant in her marketing chart, where her product is. And like I said, if this were cars on this chart, the Toyotas will be here, the Hondas. No offense to anyone who drives the Lexus and Benz will be here, and here is where the Ferraris would go, right? So she's kind of this. She has a very unique product that's very high end, and that's recognized by the market. So to do that, and to do that in 1 year. It's a moonshot, right? It's basically taking a rocket together and shoot it to the moon and land on the moon, right? Which took this country like 8 years to do, with billions. So, okay, we know a few things about you, but we're going to want to know a few deeper things, right? So clearly, 2006, graduated from University of Michigan Industrial Engineering. By the way, I know so Michigan, for those of you who don't know, has a nemesis. It's Ohio State. And in fact, Ohio State just beat Michigan in a game that was badly officiated. In fact, it was an Ohio State ref who officiated the game. And I suspect that same ref wrote my bio for the program because it talked about all the schools I've ever been at. And then when it came to where I got my MBA, I said it to my daughter, who lives in Europe, by the way, and she goes, Dad, was that an Ohio State fan who wrote the bio? Because it doesn't say you went to Michigan. Yeah. I know. Clearly an Ohio State fan. But anyway, so first of all, to make it out of Michigan School of Engineering is a feat. The industrial engineering program, which is where you learn how to make things better, faster, and cheaper, right? And that's something. And then from that, basically 3 years later or so, go to West Philadelphia, but not to be the Fresh Prince, but to actually go to UPenn, right? Wharton School of Business, which is, well, Michigan is better, by the way, and she knows that. But Wharton is actually a significantly differentiated program in terms of the challenges, what she had to learn. And then, and piece it all together. And then go to Haiti and have this kind of results, right? So this is what we know. What we want to know is what is it that we don't know.
These are different pieces of a puzzle, but let's say that I grew up in Haiti. I was one of these babies they came to have in the U.S. in the 80s, and then 2 weeks later I went back to Haiti. So I grew up, went all the way to school, 30th grade to Haiti, in Sacré-Cœur, in Jojo, and the family was middle class. We traveled once a year. We had a good life, but I could see there was a lot of unemployment and a lot of poverty. So growing up, I was very aware of this, and I told myself, I'm not going to pay school for every kid or every housekeeper or every, me, as we say. I will create jobs. I'm going to give them jobs, and they can decide what to do with their money. So I said, I will create jobs, and I will create blue collars. So this was in my mind where I will at some point come back to Haiti and create blue collar jobs and produce things. So I went, and when I was growing up in Haiti, I went to one of the top schools too. Sacré-Cœur, with Saint Louis were the top school in Haiti. So I'm like, and I skipped grades, so I was a nerd. Now I have the smaller glasses, and I was a kid, I had these glasses. But my friend had said I was a good variety of nerds because although I had good grades, I partied too, so that there is some balance. I think I was one of these nerdy parents that go out, so you can take it either way. So I said I want also to go to the best school. So if I went to the best school in Haiti, I want to go into the best school in the U.S. So this being said, and knowing that I want to create jobs, I'm like, okay, I want to be industrial engineer. But industrial engineer, because as you said, industrial engineer create working industry to improve processes, whether it's blue collar or in services. I've worked for L'Oreal in production. I work for the hospital system at University of Michigan. I work for Northrop Grumman, which is a defense company. I couldn't actually explain what Northrop Grumman was. A lot of my parents think I work for NASA because from time to time I was say, "Oh, you know, work for NASA." I said, "I'm Christ, work NASA." I work for a defense company, but I have to explain to some Haitians that you're doing satellites. So you're doing satellites, so you work for NASA. Anyway, so I became an industrial engineer. I went to top school, which was very important for me. So I could say, okay, the top school in Haiti or the top school in the U.S. And I wanted to get the best education because I felt that when I go back to Haiti, I'm going to be on my own. So I better learn it in school to do it. And so I did industrial engineering in Michigan, which I put a top 2 industrial engineer. And I worked in the U.S. And then, well, now that I knew how to run the business and the processes, I also wanted to know how to manage the money, how to find money, how to manage your money, your resources, your human resources, how you incentivize them well to do the work, how do you market the product so it looks good so the client wants to buy it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the top school again. Which are the top school in MBA with entrepreneurship, where there's Harvard, there's Boston, there's Wharton. I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to go back to Haiti. If I go back to Haiti and have a business, I need the people across from me saying, she's in Haiti, but she went to Wharton. That means she knows something, so maybe we should take a chance with her. So all these were behind my mind. So when I decided which school, so I applied to the top school, got into Wharton, again, top 3 for MBA. And I got it. It was tough. I'm not going to say it was not easy, but I guess I've never chosen the easiest path. I skipped 2 grades, so I skipped 6th grade and I skipped 8th grade. So that wasn't easy either. And I went to to Michigan in the cold, coming from Haiti in the cold, living in the dorm. So that wasn't easy. And then you went from being the top in the class the first. I kept skipping and I was still the top. I just displaced whoever was there before. So whenever I skipped, the other girls were happy. Oh, she's good. Now I can be first. But now you're with all these Indian, Chinese, American, and you're like in the middle of the pack. You have to teach you a little bit of humility because you're not the best always. But that keeps you, that's the grinding, that gives you like the resilience you want of, okay, keep pushing and getting the knowledge. So once I had the industrial engineering experience and then the MBA experience, both working in the US as a consultant and also in Haiti and with the Haitian government and doing I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to change the country through government. That wasn't my path anyway, not my goal. So I'm going to create business and I'm going to do the blue collar out of Port-au-Prince and transform the local crops. And everyone say Haiti is an agricultural country. Indeed, it is an agricultural country. I go to this place for this cacao business. I go to this place first you need to cross 12 rivers. The road is the rivers. If you rent, you can go. And these people live no hospital, there's nothing. They are just depending on them. For the first time of my life, I saw pineapple on a bush. I was arriving at that farmer's house, and I'm like, what is that? Where's that pineapple sitting? And I realized, oh, that's how it actually grows. But you cross 12 rivers. If you not, some of the rivers, you have water to your knees, okay? And you walk in this little sentier, one behind each other, and you get to the farmers. And they have all these trees, and mango, orange, lime, and pineapple, but this is a bush actually, the cacao tree, and you go buy it from them. So, yeah.
So you've made some decisions along the way. Multiple decisions, and really, I think that some of us are probably thinking. Again, I'm going to open this for the audience, but one last question on my side is: you picked Wanamint, right? But in terms of where you're sourcing the product from, it's actually away. Still in the north, but it's away from Wanamint. It's coming from the area around Milo and Plaisance, etc. So you could have picked someplace else. So why Wanamint?
Well, 2 things. I wanted someplace that was the first in Port-au-Prince. I wanted something that was easy access. I saw Wanamint first. My grandparents had the house. They're from Wanamint, so I could use their summer houses that I renovated. And my rent is kind of the story. I asked my grandpa if I could use the house. He has a hip surgery, he cannot come anymore. He's in Port-au-Prince. That's fine, as long as you pay the guardian. How much is the guardian? 500 gourds. Divided by 66, that's my my
That's
friend.
your friend. That explains that.
And it's close, and when I'm at, it's strategic. It's 2 hours from Tahitian. It's an international airport. DHL is there. It's next door to Dior. Push comes to shove, I can ship from Dior, my father's.
Yeah.
It's strategically, it's well positioned. I have a house, like 1,000 square feet. I can use the first floor for production, the second floor dorm for like the head of production to live there. I can have like someone is coming like a trainer, they can be there. So it's a good use for me.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. Now this is the point where the audience gets to ask questions. You?
Before you ask a question, thank you, Corinne. Thank you, Marisol. I wanted to also seize the moment and also introduce a friend, a colleague who's also a Haitian diaspora doing business in Haiti too. Kathleen just, I don't know if any of you have been to Haiti and you've heard of Madame Kathleen. Kathleen just, she will be also in one of our future presentations. We need to figure out how, but she happens to be in the U.S. and she came to meet Corinne as well. So I wanted to make sure she's also there. So you can also, in your questions, think of her here too, because this is another story of the Haitian diaspora. I want to be involved in Haiti and visiting Haiti, and she's here too as another soundboard and also experience to share with the audience.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. Yes. So we get to pick on her too. So
Yes.
Equal opportunity. So, whatever question that you've had, you kind of wrestling with, because I'm sure I didn't ask it, right? I asked 2 of yours, but not this one. Go ahead.
You can talk about how hard it is to start. Does it get any better?
Does it get any better? That's the question.
Well, I don't have 10 years experience. Let's say we started with the idea. Firstly, I started with researching props in October, November 2014. Yeah, November 2014. Called it, okay, make up my mind by November that it was chocolate. Called the chocolatier. Started preparing the place in December. Had the chocolate. So have the chocolatier come in February. Train in December. We went to Portland. December 2014, went to Portland. In February, the house was ready, so the chocolatier came to Wanamint to work with the team. We had hired by then, by February 2015. So we did a month of training, train of March, April started production, and started selling in May. So May 2015. So we are from May 2015 to now. So has it gotten any better? Some problems were solved, some were not. It's like you solve a problem and you want to show up. Have our sales increased? Yes. Have I paid my payment plan? Like wherever, like some contractor on payment plan. Actually, just finished. I'm finishing this one. It was $24,000 in July 2015. Last year, now it's only $1,000 worth. So in January, I'm going to start paying back the original investment of $170,000. So it's not, just to go back, it's not impossible, but it's difficult. Does it get any better? No, that's always a problem. Like
In terms of dealing with the local government or the government,
it looks like it repeats. Like let's say, like last year, I explained the problem I had with IRS. Like first they said I had to pay $30,000, then I paid $5,000, I paid $600. They wanted you to repay the $600. At this point, I'm like, I don't want to get involved with the government. I'm like, you know what? This time I went all the way to the minister. Like, and I had to fix it. But like, in terms of like, I paid, I have my receipt. I don't care if it's account A or B. I paid. Just fix it yourself. Don't ask me to repay. But the issue is that this is a new year, so I don't know what the fiscal year today in October. Okay, I'm 2 months late. It's not yet finalized. Am I gonna have other problems? So
this question actually,
maybe
you could get somebody who's been around a little bit longer too.
Longer. Does it get better?
Thank you, Jim. I'm so excited to be here, by the way. You just don't understand. I literally just drove down from Boston to be here. I do not want to scare anybody who wants to actually go to Haiti and do business there. But you know, it's definitely going to take 5 times as long and cost 10 times as much than you have planned to do whatever it is that you're going to plan to do in Haiti, because there's just so many things that come up that even if you plan for this and then you plan for that, there's like 10 other thises and that's waiting down the line. So does it ever get better, especially dealing with the government? It hasn't gotten better for us. I'm so sorry to have to tell you that, but you know, you find ways to deal with it, and just like generally in the way that things are done in Haiti, like you just resolve to have to deal with the craziness. Like, you know, you want to go pay DGE, and then you go down, and they're like, well, they don't have any electricity. So the computers, they can't do the computer, so you have to leave and come back. This is after you waited maybe like an hour or two to see somebody, you know.
It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better.
So but, you know, there are people who have found ways to deal with it. So perhaps maybe you don't deal with it directly, and you have other people dealing with it for you, so you don't have to deal with the stresses directly yourself. Whereas I'm there, I actually live in Haiti. I'm there 24/7, so I get it 24/7.
I will say though, it's like this problem is solved and another one is here.
Yeah.
Are you in Haiti? Do you live in Haiti?
I live in Monument. I don't live in.
Oh no, but I mean you are there full time. Half and half. Lucky you.
Yeah,
You're smart.
So you had a question?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you and AHP for putting this program together. Very, very informative and very, very useful, I think, for our country that you do something like that. I now want to thank you very, very much for doing this for our country again, because I think that we think of Haiti and the success of Haiti, we need to address production. We need to invest in the country. And I know that a lot of us in the diaspora also have that aspiration, but there are a lot of roadblocks, as you know, and I'm happy that you were able to overcome some of them. And you touched a bit about them, but I would like you to maybe go back and talk a little bit about the research that you did, for instance. How do you go about researching opportunities in Haiti? The financing aspect, how do you go about raising funds and attracting an investor for the type of project that you have? Thank you very much.
Sure. For the research, it's, fairly easy. I have engineering background, MBA, so you want to search your crop, you just do your Excel, you say, okay, crop A, last line, okay, what are the opportunities? Mango, what are the opportunities? Who is already in the market, or who are the player in the field? And when we reach cacao, I'm like, okay, top 15 well, that's good. It's a tree. That's good. No one else. That's good. So it's not that, so it has to be realistic for me. So will I do like, I don't know, like vanilla? Maybe not. There's no plant like this. I'm not going to start a new plant. Maybe, or would I maybe do this there? Maybe not. So there are already players in the field that already do. So why? I could go try to leave the status quo, but then you have all these people you're playing on their field, and then you get trouble. They come in to you, so you just. I just like, there's no one else in the field. I'm not, this is much popular platform this person. I'm not working on other people's things. This is an opportunity. There's an opportunity for the farmers. So that's the way to go. Now, in terms of financing, luckily, I was making good money, the 6 figures. I did go to Wharton. The average Wharton person make $125,000, and I was probably average, not the top, maybe not the top, but I was in I was in the worst. So I did make that type of money, and I have children. I saved money, and we we open the business. The business would say, we invested 170,000 up to when we're like, okay, we're not investing more. The business needs to start making money, and we save the money. The good thing is now that, like, when the business started picking up, a lot of people were like, oh, that's great. Do you want them to invest with you? I'm like, well, we closed that business. But for the next, we have other idea now. We want to do cacao fermenting, actually ferment and dry the cacao to prepare the cacao. And we went to some of these people who were like, oh, remember you wanted to invest with Askanya? Well, Askanya is good, but we have that new idea. Are you interested? They're like, sure. So now we found 4 people who invested 80,000, less money because it's not we learned from our errors, something we shouldn't pay, etc. and not do. And we didn't have to pay $1, just put the sweat equity, but sweat equity is like it's like equity. So but the second time we have the money, the full $80,000 to start the second business without putting money out. So but it's a matter of like people seeing what's going on and trusting, and we would trust that, okay, you trust me that I'm going to be doing the job. Since I already have a track record, you can trust me, but then, yeah, and I have to trust you, okay, you're going to give me the money on time, but that's feasible. But the things that it's not like you go to a bank, like you don't go to, that doesn't work. And even if you get like this international institution, whether it's LEAD, etc., who give money, like they want to see the track record first. They're not just going to go give money for an idea. You have to be on the ground, operating, and wanting to expand, or like, or, but they're not going to give just for the idea.
That's true.
Back up what you just said. In terms of having something, like you kind of have to start and put your teeth in the game. Like you have to start and show that, one, you're serious about what it is that you're trying to do, meaning that you yourself are investing in it, and then you have something that has potential. Investors in Haiti specifically, very, very skeptical of trying something, especially something new. If it's the same thing that they're used to, that they know is going to turn their big money, you'll have a lot more luck with that. But do we really need another importer of rice and another? How about when you produce something like we talked about before? So before you can really talk about, this has been our experience. Before you can really talk about getting outside investors or getting people in, look to see how can you start whatever it is that you're going to do yourself on whatever scale and level that you can start, so that they can see what it is that you're doing. You have a few clients, they see you in production, they see you running, they see you operating, and then that way they can say, I see what they're trying to do. Because for the longest time, people thought I was going to be a mashup fleet. And they would go and start, actually resell fruit, because they couldn't get it, they couldn't understand it. And so I took the crazy step of saying, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and open this and start this, and hopefully, it'll take and people will see what it is and they'll understand. And it was after I started, that's when I got other people to it. So that would be something to think about.
Thank you. I do want to, again, keep the audience participation going. I think it's very wonderful that we all sharing in this. But I want to maybe make a little pivot. My brother over here started in the business end of things, the economics, and I want to kind of stay there for a little bit. So, the story of IBM started in upstate New York with a very young entrepreneur, much like yourself, deciding to come up with a new way to weigh items in the stores that people weren't very sure that they were getting the right weight for. So today we take it for granted that you go to the grocery store and put your bananas and fruits, whatever it is, in the scale, and it is what it is. It's 3 or 4 pounds, and you go pay for it per pound. Back then, there was a lot of ambiguity in scales. There were other entrepreneurs, shall we say, less legal entrepreneurs, who were coming up with all kinds of scales. So IBM came up with a very much of a ruggedized scale, et cetera. But it started literally just with an idea for a scale. Today, it's IBM. With that being said, what I'm thinking about is whatever Askanya started now, wherever they are after a year, there's clearly a growth plan. There's a direction that it's going over the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, hopefully, and how your business, yours, and all of these businesses that are kind of nascent right now, how they're going to play a larger role at some point. So could you kind of maybe give us an idea in terms of your own expectations, where things should go, where things could go?
Things could go far, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I don't control. Like let's take for instance, like the example I took earlier, about the bus being put, let's say, on, like I had my thing on the bus and they put the delay on. If they give it to me 2 weeks later, it's melted. So, which means, let's say, yeah, I had like $200, $500, $500 worth of things. So, okay, $500 worth of material, you can redo it. Okay, the company grow 20, 100, $450,000 worth of material, and I lose it. How do I get it back? So there's all these like structure, like not uncertainty only. Okay, yeah, I could get insurance, but what insurance company is gonna actually insure me? Yeah, there's leisure, etc. But are they willing to take the risk? So there's a lot of parameters that I don't control. And again, like I did mention something earlier. My husband is not Asian, so we came up with that agreement where I could spend half the time managing the business if I have to be away, but after that I have to be here. So it's important that we keep this. So maybe if it goes too bigger or too big for me, I may sell and someone else take the risk. Look at like Brana, they sell to Heineken, and Heineken actually bought Brana, and now they have all the resources. So maybe another company who's willing to take the risk might buy it. But for me, there's certain risk appetite and issue level that I can deal with. I think it's high, but there's a certain, I need to sleep 8 hours at night. So which I managed to do despite the issues. So it can grow. There's room for it. As Marisol said earlier, chocolate, high-end chocolate made in Haiti with Asian beans are very rare. But am I willing to deal with today is EDH, tomorrow is after social, the day after is thermal for, I don't know, for that political issue. It's senatorial, the next day is député, the next day is presidential issue. So there's an issue. And then people looking at, oh, it's a big company, let's try to sue her. Like, oh, they have money, she has money, let's try. Like, I had an employee whose contract finished in September, from October to September. Okay, he didn't like the new contract, he didn't stay, fine. But the law says, the 13 months that the government, that you have to pay to the employee, it has to be paid between December 24th and 31st. Okay, what are we today, people? We are December 1st. The contract finished in September 30th. October 1st, he asked me, where is this money? I said, you have to wait
until December.
I got a letter for the Ministry of Social Welfare account. There's a litige. So I think the Ministry of Social Welfare should have known that.
Yeah, the law.
It's between 24th and 31st. So you have to deal with all these things, wasting your time, wasting your time and dealing with that. So it doesn't only depend for me. If it only depends on me, I mean, I can do the math, how much I produce, how much money I can make, how much energy I need. But if I have no power, like I'm in a town where there's power 6 to midnight, like 80% of the time. The other 10% of the time, they give it for 2 hours. The other 10% of the time, they don't give it at all. So, like, I need power during the day, mostly when I'm working. I also need power at night for the machines that are running 24/7 for the 72 hours. So, but for every extra hour on generator, or if I produce more on generators, I can produce more actually. There's a certain number of machines. You're gonna get unlimited number of machines. This machine costs $4,000 to $6,000. So you have to have a certain number and be able to have your batch production. But for instead of paying $800, I'm close to $2,000 of energy. And every time that that's why that has a cost. I could have sold maybe cheaper or even sell at this price, make more money, but I can because I depend on, because of the cost. If there's a cost of transport, like some people want to carry it in Europe, they really want to carry it, but let's say if a box is sending it 680, like the small bus to send it 680 throughout the US, the same bus is $15.50 to send to Canada. The same bus is $35 to send in Europe. That's easy to your pocket. And I cannot send it lower because then I don't make money. So it's all this, and it's not like my dad was saying, oh, tu as volé les like you need to have like solid, like, because you depend on you, like whether, I mean, client makes payment, not sure she pays right on time. Not my son, but sometimes, actually in Haiti, they only pay after they sold, like 30 days after, but in between, I have to pay the employee, and they're not going to come back to work. I mean, I can be 1 or 2 days late, so today is the second, did I pay on the first? No, I'll admit, I paid today, the second, but they can't do it on the second, but they're not going to do it in a month, they have to leave, they have their system, and these are people living day by day, like, we don't pay them, they have nothing.
So
you have to pay, and then if you're missing stickers, you have to order them, and when you order, it's a minimum of $1,000 because you have to buy in bulk, so it's like that $1,000 was supposed to do something, has to do something else. And if the bathroom flows, like, you have to call the plumber, and then he comes every time. And I'm like, I'm on my 10th plumber, I swear, I'm on my 10th plumber, and then this thing hasn't been solved. I think I've redone. Sometimes it's good to have a free house, but an older house is an older system. So it's all these things you have to take into account when you do it, and you're like,
yeah. So yeah, it's the environment actually, right? Yeah, that's so that's in your equation, if you will. So you're creating a business in Haiti, and you're looking at all your variables, you know, in terms of, okay, my location, my cost, my product, resources, human resources, and financial resources, and then you put this other variable. It's called Haiti crime. You know, and that's bad because, for instance, you know, you travel, say, to Asia, like Thailand, the Philippines, etc., places like that. You could stay at a Marriott, you know, just like the Marriott in Haiti, for like probably 1/3 the price of what you're paying in Haiti. Because in Haiti, the cost of that Marriott is so much more than what it would be in another, really, in my opinion, not an undeveloped country, but at least they have infrastructure. You know, they have electricity, they have plumbers who know how to fix things, and they've been trained somewhere where they can't charge you but so much. They have laws, etc. So that's the problem. Again, to you in the audience, we have time for maybe one more question, I think.
I have a multi-pronged question. So in regards to both of you right now, so with the recent election with Mr. Moise, Mr. Banan, so he's, you know, promised to increase agriculture a whole lot. We'll see when that happens. That may affect your industry a lot more, and a little bit of your industry too, of course. But one of the big things that none of you guys have talked about is the security aspect. I've noticed that. And as a diaspora here, I've tried to open a business in Haiti myself. And every time I've tried, my biggest concern is infrastructure. Because you guys are doing agriculture, you're selling, you know, food, where I saw something that Haiti is missing is entertainment. And I'm not trying to talk about like entertainment like concerts and performance. I mean like Dave and Buster's. So literally that's one of my business plans right now is to open a Dave and Buster's in Haiti. But I'm like, I don't have power consistently to run. But then my biggest concern, what happens to my security? Who's going to feel safe to go into these places and buy these other small factories you try to open up? They get overrun. People come to you. You mentioned yourself a little bit as far as you trying to do something that someone else is doing. Competition is going to try to take you out. But people also just stealing stuff in general. Like you're running a generator. So I'm like, I've heard so many nightmares of people just stealing generators and sabotaging generators, and especially when you're trying to run them for a long period of time.
My generator is so heavy, we have to do the crane. So it was one of my house.
They can lift that stuff up.
Not a 2-ton generator, a diesel 2-ton generator. They're not lifting it up.
Let me just see your point. I think like the security is real, but as I said, like I was careful. For instance, I'm like, okay, maybe one point in my subconscious, like, I'm not, like, I did a business there was an open area where I'm not working on someone or the other person still, like, there was space for me, so yeah, that's fine. The other thing I do is like, I don't like if there was like a time when they said like, okay, during session for president, you had to pay the guy. I'm like, I'm not into paying. If I have to pay, I'm not doing it. And I haven't paid anyone to be in business to this day. Like even the IRS, I complain all the way up, but I didn't pay anything. So then of security, yes, you have to get security. There's a security company. I don't have it at the chocolate company, but at the cacao farm, the fermentation and drying, I have security 24/7, like with AHS. Like at the chocolate company, not really. We don't. It's a factory. We don't do a lot of publicity. People have no idea. Often have no idea what's going on. So for now, it's okay. I don't feel unsafe either. Like my theory is like as long as you're not fucking someone's wife, you are not like doing like, or you're not in politics, stealing someone's money, etc. As long as you're straight, you can walk anytime. And I walk myself anytime in Haiti. 3 a.m. I'm out, 11 p.m. I'm out by myself, safely because, by the way, you have to pay next month. I always pay next food. I do.
What I meant. Jimmy is what I meant. Oh, no, not for friends. No, not for friends.
No. Clarification. For friends too. For friends too. No, for friends too. I mean, of course. If I know it's the election results, no, what's going on? I mean, like why are you going to put yourself? But if there is alarm going on, alarm starts at 10 p.m., I take my call, go to alarm, come back at 3 a.m., I'm fine because, like, seriously, firstly, you leave there without an access, nothing's going to happen to you. Seriously. No. I mean, shit do happen. Like, I'm sorry. But, like, you in Brooklyn, like, it doesn't one of the aid of the mayor got attacked in Brooklyn somewhere? Not because he took, like, a strong, like a straight bullet. Yeah, things happen. Like, I put it in the same category. Like, yeah, something might happen to you. But anyone, something is happening, like in Haiti, somehow, some way. That's my philosophy. And I live in Haiti. I work in Haiti. I work for the government. I was the chief of staff of the Ministry of Planning. I was chief of staff of Lola Ramos. I work everywhere. Like, nothing ever happened to me. I never had, I did have an armored car for that job, granted. But when the job was over, I went back to my regular car and went out. Because, like, how not fair. Okay, and I don't deal with people who are unaccepted, like seriously, and then I'll be careful. Well, I choose judiciously what to do. So yeah, I mean that can happen, but
for me, it's the exact same. I live in Haiti, full time.
You live in Port-au-Prince?
I live in Port-au-Prince.
Pétionville?
No. I used to live in Delma 19.
Oh!
I lived in Delma 19 for the first 2 years that I started Selfie because I wanted I invested everything I had into Selfie. It was just the whole concept of starting out of a garage, And I was taking motorcycles, back and forth everywhere because I didn't have a car. Because I put everything. I don't have a car either. I put everything into the business. And I have no problem telling the story because it just shows how much I believed in what it is that I was doing. My mother, got me a car because I had a motorcycle accident, and she was like, "Oh my God, my baby, when?" I wasn't gonna do it because I wasn't ready to do it because I was focused on the business, right? And just like I said, I mean, I'm 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting home, 9 o'clock at night, I'm getting home. And I drive myself. I don't have a chauffeur. I don't have security. Now, with the store, we were in a location for like the first year and a half that I didn't have security at all. We were pretty good, except for we had one incident, and that wasn't even an incident with us. It was like there were some guys in the streets that were following one person, and she thought she'd be smart, and she ran into our store thinking that they would leave her alone, but they followed her into the store. But that wasn't, they weren't coming after us, or it wasn't an issue with us. But we still changed and we moved to a building that provides security. So it has, armed security guards. With what it is that you're trying to do, the kind of energy that you're going to need the kind of generator that's
24/7.
I guarantee you, no Haitian can put that up.
And I'm speaking to her, like, I don't have a car either. I used to have a car when I was working. Like, I take moto, I take public transportation, I do everything. Like, you have to,
Like, that I won't do. I'm not.
No, moto in what I meant.
Oh, okay. No,
But
I mean, it's a public transportation that I think.
In Haiti?
You mean tap
I can't do
I do
that.
that. I mean, you really have to, at the end of the day, like, listen, your businesses, like, it's payroll day, like today, and you have $1,000, and you have $2,000 worth of expenses. You need to choose who's gonna get out of the 2,000, who's gonna get $1,000, okay? So at the end of it, if you have to get back home and it's 5 good, you find the 5 good. Have I not been in Haiti and missed the last bus to when I met? Where did I go? I did go to the police station. Maybe that's smooth.
Wow.
Nothing actually happened to me. They gave me a chair. There was lights because there's lights there.
Wow.
But that's the type of substance you get in a field. Like, for instance, if you're going to make a business in Haiti, you have to get to the point, like, as a woman, for instance, like, we used to make 6 figures and went to the point, like, my birth control are over. My bank account is so low, I have to tell my husband to give me the money for birth control. That's how bad it gets.
It's tough. And you have to mentally prepare yourself for it. Like when I said I lived in Delma 19, when I opened the business, Delma 19 was where I grew up when I was a little girl. So 30-something years ago, it's not what it is today at all. That's where our house is. But our house collapsed with a quake. And we haven't rebuilt it. And so what's in the yard is literally like a shack. So I lived in the shack for 2 years. And there were times I would come home in the rain on the moto to get inside of the shack, that didn't have an inverter or electricity because I put everything into the store. And I would lay there crying, saying to myself, what the heck am I doing? I have a degree from Boston College, and I'm in here, laid up in a shack, wet from taking a motor home, like recycling. And so you have to tell yourself that all of the luxuries that you're used to, you are going to war, you're going to a jungle. It's not going to be that, but if you tell yourself that, then you're prepared for anything that comes at you.
Come back, Bill. Okay, 2 questions. You first, and then after.
How many years did it take you for your business to become profitable?
I'm sorry, I was looking at.
When are you expecting
At this rate?
to be in the black?
So.
And also, I want to add this though. The media, social media, has done a great job denigrating Haiti, making you afraid of Haiti. The murder rate per capita in Washington, D.C. 10 times higher than Haiti. Chicago is 30% higher than Haiti. You don't have any problem going to Chicago. You can have any problem going to Washington, D.C. And I'm going to walk half a mile to get my car. But the likelihood of me getting shot is higher in Washington, D.C. than Haiti. I wanted to add that.
I think, so as I said, like, we invested $170,000 for the chocolate factory in total. And then we had about $24,000 that we have payment plan. We just finished it. So let's say by December of last year, we said, okay, we're not investing any more than $170,000. To December to now, we pay about $24,000 of that, like, payment plan of people we owe money to, and we have like $1,000 that we have to pay this December, starting January. I'm gonna receive money, but I'm thinking at this rate, at our rate of production as it is currently, because we're actually reaching our capacity. If we stay like this, it's gonna be 8 years at most. If we, kind of increase production, it might go down to 6.5, but not earlier. Because as I was saying, whether you package one of these or 1,000 or 10,000, it's not going to get it. It's not going to take less time. It's not like as you scale, expense decrease. Not in our line of work. 5 to 8 years is what we're thinking.
Objectives rest
with everything else being paid, like it's like I could have get back my 170,000 and not pay not this, not that, but everything gets paid on time. Maintenance, you have to do maintenance. You have to expect the unexpected. I'm thinking 5 days.
And that's still with not paying rent.
No, I'm gonna start reimbursing myself first. It was my money at some point, so I'm just kidding. But I mean, I learned better for the second business because that is still fairly complicated because you have to make sure you have power, etc. Whereas for the cloud business, first we didn't put money out is the investor money, but the investor will get their money back in 2.5 years, 3-year max. So we could have just said cacao fermentation and drying. So we started a second business, kind of a vertical integration where we actually buying the cacao, fermenting and drying it. So it's become organic, the same way as what we're buying now, so we can sell it. So this is a fairly easier business where once you have the infrastructure, the fermentation and drying center, you can just buy the cacao and prepare and sell it. So another business would have fewer expenses than the chocolate. This may not be the best example in terms of recouping your money, but that's
just differing what Corinne is doing, taking the wet beans and fermenting and drying, will allow her to sell, like she said, to a lot of other makers who want more variety. So small makers, like there's 3 small beans of our makers here in DC. There's over 100 in the U.S. They're always looking for new origins, so new places to get beans from, and those come in and out of fashion. Camino Verde or Guayas or Chihuahua or Dos Rios, the Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, places like that. So the reason that people aren't making a lot of chocolate with Haitian cacao, it's hard to get, it's rare. There's only a few producers. They may have other agreements where they don't sell to other people. So this vertical integration is super important to having Haitian cacao become bigger and more well-known in the fine chocolate industry. So this is a super, super important part of developing the industry further. And I just want to say that because it's not always clear if you're not in the industry what the impact of that is. But it's a huge impact.
That's good, thank you. So that's not going to just supply what Askanya needs, but it's also going to provide to other suppliers.
It's going to probably, and at this point, I think it may not even. I mean, if there's an issue with my current supplier, it might supply to me, but we are doing it in a way that it's more profitable for us to sell it.
To use it. Got it.
And there's a company in Massachusetts called Taza, and they kind of were at the forefront of organic cacao, and they started working in Dominican Republic, and they really created a lot of the infrastructure for exporting Dominican beans, and many, many makers buy their Dominican beans from Taza, and Taza uses their beans and other makers, and they make totally different chocolate, and it goes all over, and a lot of that infrastructure is in place because of Taza doing that vertical integration, which is what Corinne's doing in Haiti.
One question, and then we'll go to you.
First of all, my name is Justin, and I'm here actually to come to support you. Actually, I just got the email today. I came back from Haiti last week, and I was there with my daughters having surgery. First of all, big kudos to you and also you, ma'am, for actually taking that endeavor. Like both of you, I'm a business entrepreneur in Haiti. We started this year. I have a company called Prestige Renewable Energy Solutions. We actually provide solutions for energy, especially solar and wind. So we definitely have solutions that we can provide to both your companies. Also you, sir. Now, the question that I'm going to ask you, Askanya, I'm having a lot of issues, for instance. I do import and export, especially when our products come from Germany or China. Getting your product from the port it's not a simple process. You might think you figure out today and then you come back next week and it's totally different. I'm going to be part of the delegation going down to Haiti next couple of weeks to actually meet with the new staff for the new president. Part of the discussion is going to be if Haiti is going to be open for business, let's actually come up with ways to make it better for people to actually do business in Haiti. Because what's really killing Haiti is actually the processes that are not well defined. It doesn't matter where you go; each place is different. They have no written policies. There's nothing really. So everybody make as they go. Now the question, I have a two-point question for you. Number one, how much are you paying your salary? How much are you paying your employees? And are they able to live on that salary? Number two, what's the percentage men to women in your companies? Because a lot of times, for your women to get jobs in Haiti, it's very difficult. Often they have to do things that is not pleasant. In our company, one of the things we're trying to do is actually to employ young women, give them hope, opportunities that otherwise they would not find in other places. Thank you.
Thank you. So how much I pay, as I said earlier, I follow the law. The Haitian law says you pay the salary, after 5 p.m. it's considered overtime, 4 p.m. if it's October too much, like summer hours.
Yes, summer hours.
Well, I'm sorry, I pay the salary, I pay the taxes too, so the employee doesn't have to pay the taxes on it. And then the government the law says it's 3 weeks vacation, paid vacation, plus 9 official holidays, 1st, 2nd, January, Carnival, etc. So that's 5 weeks vacation paid. Plus you have to pay boni for the 13th month, so that's 9 weeks paid vacation for 10. So I pay 13 months for 10 and a half of work. I give a meal, I give English classes, I pay the taxes for them, so they don't need to pay the taxes.
And women?
They get a cake for their birthday.
Birthday cakes.
The birthday cake.
Or phone.
Phone. In terms of women, actually, it's very real what he says about women being as like for instance, we have to go back to the plumber. We had the first plumber we hired at I had a partner, but she sold her shares, but she was studying the company, like being there while I was still working in the U.S. We hired a plumber, but because the plumber lived in the house, when he come, we have room, like instead of staying, he came from Port-au-Prince, instead of staying for the hotel, we had him stay in the house. And lo and behold, he started going out and saying he was the actual owner and asking for favors, like telling women,
wow.
If you have to work, you have to give me favors.
Oh,
so that's how the first time we hired, we were like, none of the women look like this, and they look like, where is the master? Like they will come and say, what's DJA? Like talking about the plumber, they're like, my partner like that. We said, no, you're not. Like they told him, and afterwards we found out that's what he was doing, and these are the type of things that happen in Haiti. So at some point, like the staff we had didn't please us, and we rehired, and we just rehired women. They are like this little, we're in a small town, so they are this little church girl, only go to church, their first job, doing well. When they were, they sing all these church songs, like a very small town feeling. But this thing about, we had employees who did the training period, and we didn't keep them, or had to left, but keep saying, we do the recruiting for the firm, and some people believe it. And that's, again, a lack of, I say with a woman, it's self-esteem. Like, the company is on the main street of the town. Just come and ask if there's a job. Why do you have to listen to someone saying, I'll get you a job there, I'll take your resume, and but you have to give me some favors.
But I think also it's part of our culture. We actually, from a very young age, maybe it was different for you, I don't know, but from a very young age, if you grew up in Haiti, we've been taught actually it's starting very early with the dad and then
No, it was very different.
boyfriend, later Haitian women actually kind of rely on the male counterpart. So it's kind of ingrained in our culture.
I will disagree, but it depends on the area. It depends on the area, the education, all that. Like, I never thought I couldn't be an engineer. I never thought I couldn't go to Wharton. I had a lot of good female examples. My mom is a doctor. My grandma was a school teacher, but I had a lot of female women working and being independent with their careers, so I never thought. I think it's a matter of opportunity, and a lot of people in the countryside doesn't have a chance to see a female business owner or someone who do it. And as soon as they do it, now they think if Corinne can do it, I can do it.
As far as we're concerned, we've always had more females than males. It's always been like 6 females and 2 males, or 4 females, it's always been 4 females. As far as the salary that we pay our employees, in Haiti, unfortunately, salaries are low. As a matter of fact, the business owners lobby to keep salaries low purposely. And so if we go by, and we do go by the government, what the government says, we're considered a restaurant, right? And so people working in restaurants, that type of restaurant in Haiti, making about $150 to $200, the equivalent of $150 to $200 US a month. What ends up happening is, with the exchange rate going insane as it is, it actually ends up being less and less and less because the goods amount, like you can't, like somebody who's working, for example, in a restaurant, like to give them $300, $400, $500 a month just to serve customers, that is completely unheard of. That is just, it's like somebody at McDonald's making, $50,000 salary just to make fries. You understand what I'm saying? I think you had asked a question about
the salary and how many women.
Okay.
You covered.
Yeah, that's you covered.
Yeah. I think there's very few options. Like, especially I'm in a rural area. The issue specific with what I meant is that there's a lot of people do border trade, cross-border trade, so they have revenue. But the one when I in this, most of the time they only have living from their property. But if they have if they work the land, they are labor or farmers, they live out of this, and the women they sell at the market, etc. But so there's not a lot of job you go punch it, as you say, the equivalent of punching here. So so there's the option of being a housekeeper, maybe at some people, or the cook, but then you don't make you don't make the minimum that the government requires anyway when you work there, because no one controls it. They pay you very little. Whereas
it's a black market, right?
It's a black market. So whereas as me, I pay you what the government says. And you'll be surprised, on May 18th, a decree came out saying that there is a minimum wage effective May 1st.
Retroactive.
So on June 1st, my next paycheck, I had to go pay arrears.
I wanted to make a quick point, since also I lived in Haiti for 5 years, and I think a lot of times because the poverty in Haiti sometimes, is very visceral and hurts us, we feel like we want to pay these people. I think we have to be very careful and mindful. Myself, I had, folks working in the house, helping with the kids and so on and so forth. But one thing I was very conscientious is, as much as you want to pay them, you got to find a different strategy. Don't pay them in a way that you make it difficult for them when you're no longer there, they can find a job. Because if you're paying them too much, and the next job, they won't find someone who can pay them as much. Yes, you want to help them the other way. So what, for example, myself I did, I try to always pay them a competitive rate of the market, but I can give them 1 or 2 extra months. So for example, when school season starts, you can give them an extra month because you know they need the help with their kids. When at the end of the year, the board meet, you can give them an extra. So I used to do that. And also if they have bills for medical, you cover them. So there are other ways you can complement to give the quality of life and the sense of humanity that you want to build in folks in Haiti, in our compatriots, your brothers and sisters. So I want to caution when we look at that problem, not to approach it the wrong way as well, because we can actually be making it worse than actually helping. So I just want to.
That's true, inadvertently making it worse. But I think Askanya does do something very similar to that because, you know, she has a literacy program. So if you come to work and you're learning how to read and you leave work with a higher level of capability, that's a good thing. And then secondarily, you know, the people there also learning English. So now they have another tool. I suspect most of them, some of them probably, you know, the ones who go back and forth across the border may have some Spanish skills. But now if you have English, Spanish, Creole, that does add more to your, you know, capability for the next job, et cetera. So there are ways you can do it. And you should really study the area, wherever you are, and sort of figure out what's the best way to create a net change for the positive, versus doing something that's going to have a disastrous effect in the long run. Because we see that already in Haiti, particularly with the NGOs coming into the country and trying to restructure something that fits them, and as a result, destroying the population in terms of how people behave and what they expect, et cetera. So, one more question? You always forgot. Oh, no.
What I wanted to know, I realize that you have a higher end product and a shop like might as well, you know, acknowledge that and recognize that. Now, I also noticed that you have it in Giant. So, how would a novice chocolate eater?
Giant in Haiti.
Giant in Haiti?
Yes, it's a Giant here in the US.
Oh, because you know, I was
well, although they're both Dutch owned by the same company, right? Yeah. It's AHP, the same Dutch company.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a client in
Yeah.
Okay, so okay. So
my bad. I didn't even know there was one in My bad.
I'll have to correct that. So, okay, so my original question was, how would a novice chocolate eater know of this quality if they have competitors like Nestle, Hershey, you know, in the same aisle or, you know, in the same shop? If you were to sell it in the U.S. in Giant, how would you stand out? I'm looking at the packaging, beautiful, by the way, and I don't see anything that would say this is, you know, 90% Coca-Cola or, you know.
Agreed. So that's what we do, and we do it in Haiti too. Like when we bring the products, like that. It's first Haitian people first expect if something is in Haiti, it has to be cheaper than the international brand. So we deal with that all the time. That's why whenever we start in a new store in Haiti, we also do tasting, like once for the first month, once a month, to get people to know and to talk to the clients. Tell them, okay, it's made in Haiti, it's natural ingredients, bring them the pamphlet so they can know, and then they try, and they get hooked, and they buy more.
Excellent. So we, Gilles, up to you, but we're approaching that hour where we don't want to take advantage of your time, and so we'd like to conclude the event for today. So as we conclude, if there is one burning question somebody had and they didn't ask it, I definitely want to give them a chance. I want you to get the chance. And also, I want Marisol, as a closing gift, if you will, to give Corinne just one word of advice, whatever it might be. You have time to think while Gilles talks.
My question to Corinne. I think you touched upon the investment opportunity, so I don't know if that may be another question we may need to have, because I know there may be some questions about investment opportunities, and I don't know to what extent through this conversation today you were able to get through it and what the particulars are and find out if people are interested, how they will be able to contact you. That's one. Second thing is, I think also from where Askanya is located in Manamet, so if folks are going to Haiti, they also host tours. So if you want to
in English.
In English. Mano from Haiti bound last summer went to visit the manufacturing plant, the chocolate manufacturing plant. So if you're going to Haiti, you can also have a tour of the facility. And my third question was more in terms of, I think those two.
In terms of investment, like, so, how people could invest with me, like, as I was saying, like, for the chocolate, it's for a time, like, we are not getting new investors because, like, we want to, I mean, it has to become profitable at some point, so we have to get back the money we invested. It doesn't make sense to, like, bring more and do this and take longer. Now we selected a few who contacted us who were like, oh, if you have something available, let us know. We've contacted them back, and that's how we did the second business, the fermentation and drying center. But we have other things in the pipeline, maybe not for now, but for the next 2 years. So if anyone is interested, we can keep in touch on this, and you can tell me. Like, I will like to I always have frankness and openness and communication. This is what's gonna happen. It's Haiti. Things may not turn totally as you want, but we'll do our best, and then we'll follow the law and do everything legit. So I'm not gonna cut corner. Like, one of my brother didn't invest with me in the first place because I'm like, I know he likes to cut corner. I know he could call the guy and do the bad thing. I don't want to do that. I want to show the next level. You can invest if that's the way you want. Because people do so many bad things in Haiti, and I really wanted my businesses to show the example that it can be done. So I don't want to cut corner. I'm not going to go and cut the competition. I'm not going to tell you not to come in. I'm going to let you come in. I mean, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to tell you how I do it, but it's a matter of repeating it. So, and doing it right. So, I mean, I wanted, like, my head of production, my current James always says that about me. The only thing I do like Haitian is that I speak Creole without an accent. Like, everything else, like because of the way I treat people, my employees, the way I do business, the way I don't cut corners, the way I do things right, it's like doing it the American way, the other way. So, and not everyone, like, and a lot of us, we assume, well, I'm going to go in Haiti, I'm going to leave my U.S. ways and do the Haitian ways, and sometimes we fail because of that, as a diaspora, because we don't want to. It's not easy, but you have to try. You have to do the hard way, and it's a difficult decision. Like, as I was saying, to go from, like, my 6-figure salary, my $500 meal twice a year, all these to, like, taking tap to having to, like, okay, honey, my birth control is over. I need $50 to go to the pharmacy. It's a big change. So you have to be really wanting to do that, and there's no other way to do it. I mean, that I know. So that's investment. And the second thing was visiting. Yeah, we're welcome to visit. We do, like, you can come. We're in Wanamet on the main street, so it's about an hour and a half. An hour and 15 minutes private from Cap-Haïtien, 2 hours in public transportation. From Cap-Haïtien, the tour lasts about 30-45 minutes, and you can visit all the process. And the long one, 1 hour fermentation. But now, actually, now, you can study now, you can also visit our fermentation and drying. And starting next year, once our tree will have grown a little bit more, we will have, like, a full tour from the plantation, seeing the cacao, then the fermentation and drying when it is done, and then the after.
Right.
I have a question for you. What was it like going through the FDA process? Did you not have to go through the FDA process?
I did. I mean, I went on the website, I registered my factory, and then whenever I send things, I do the firing notice on the FDA website. So it's fairly, they usually open a few bars when you go to customs. When I go to DHL, I mean, so I know that if I'm sending something, just never keep, like if I know I need 12, like a box of 12, not to send 12 because they're going to open. But it's not that complicated. But then in order to send to DHL, you need to have all the Haitian government papers.
Right.
That's more complicated.
Are both of you guys incorporated in the U.S. also?
No, I'm incorporated in Haiti.
Only, solely, completely?
I'm actually not incorporated.
Okay.
I'm just a civil private.
And second follow up that, so you guys, you maintain dual citizenship status?
No, I have a U.S. passport. There's no two.
Okay, I just wondering.
I mean,
I have a Haitian passport.
For some of us, it's a factor for some people.
I mean, here's the thing, like I don't know. So I haven't followed a lot about that dual citizenship thing, how real or what law has passed, what law hasn't passed. I mean, I should ask my lawyer, but I'm saying it for so many other things. So for all my contracts, all these, I'll come back to that lawyer thing that I haven't found out. All I know is if you're a U.S. citizen, I mean, there's some. You can be a general director, for instance, for a public office. But you cannot be a senator, deputy, or president. But whether you can, I mean, for now, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know, but that law is so much changing. So and there's a difference between also if you were born in Haiti and then got the U.S. paper, or if you actually born in the U.S. like me and then of Haitian American descent. So I mean, I do everything with my U.S. passport. I mean, for the NIF, which is I just don't have a SIM. Not that I wasn't offered one, but yeah. But then again, I don't know for the rest of the world. The rest of Haiti, I cannot. But the people in Miami know they're right. Like know they're right to the point. My boy is here. My real guy was out.
He knows his right.
Yeah, like. We had to carry something because of the construction. So, I cannot come today. I have to go to the tribunal, the court. Mm-hmm. Why? Oh, my kid was fighting or playing with another kid, and he threw a rock at him, and the parents didn't pay for the medical treatment.
Wow.
Like that's my rule there, old guy. Okay. So you're right. So everything. If my lawyer doesn't prove and tell me it is right, I don't, because then they call you to after social because they know, oh, she's Asian American, she has money, etc. So we can take advantage of her. So that's another expense. All my contracts go to my lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Good policy. Thank you again. And now, Marisol, you probably thought about your advice.
I think one thing I'd like to say, I think it's important if you are excited about Askanya, or if you're excited about this type of business, is to buy a lot of chocolate. I say that obviously as a small business owner who sells chocolate, but also as someone who works very hard to buy as much chocolate as possible and to support small makers around the world, like Corinne. So buy chocolate, tell people to buy chocolate, give people chocolate for Christmas, weddings. I encourage you to do that. Something that's unique about Corinne is that she's uniquely positioned for success. Not just because of her educational background, but also many makers start out with one part of the piece of the puzzle. They start out with a great product but horrible packaging, or a great packaging but really horrible chocolate, or very disorganized processes, or inconsistent chocolate from batch to batch, which is it can be a very big problem that will stop me from buying you again. It's crazy one time, like that's it. I'm not doing it. So in terms of advice, I mean, Corinne's doing everything as, I'm amazed. But you know everything about, how it is to operate a business in Haiti. I deal with a lot of makers in the U.S. and a lot of makers in countries that are challenging but different. Have a lot of experience in Latin America. So I think the best thing to do is just keep innovating, keep tasting lots of chocolate, and keep making chocolate. Definitely don't stop making chocolate. But she's as a chocolate maker, as someone who deals with a lot of chocolate makers and it's a struggle. It's not an industry you go into if you want to be rich. It's an industry that you go into because you want to make wonderful chocolate and you want to connect with farmers and you want to protect the environment. So I just encourage you to keep doing it.
Great. Excellent. Oh, thank you. Thank you, ladies. And this concludes our evening.
I wanted to add, I wanted to thank everyone for coming, and I would appreciate your support. If you have any other suggestions for other topics we should have as part of the Learning and Transformation series, speakers that you would like to see, feel free to write us the email that you receive, reply, and send us some suggestions. Also, there's some chocolate here. Pauline brought some, so make sure you sample. If you want to purchase, you can purchase from her here right now, or you can go online, or you can go to Chocolate House DC.
We have a tasting tomorrow.
Mrs. Slater, I'm sorry?
We have a tasting tomorrow of Askanya chocolate at the Chocolate House.
Okay, so there's a tasting tomorrow at the Chocolate House DC, Askanya. And also, in terms of AHP, we have other events coming up next year. We have a gala next March 18, 2017, so make sure spread the word out, help us get sponsors, silent auction donors, so it's going to be exciting. We're looking forward to the new year, and we look forward to some more involvement so we can make things better and we can grow ourselves better. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Marisol.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
nice. I know. And I love your passion.
How long are you in town? I have to do something. We didn't have a chance to sign. Just 3 people, yeah, but no. Yeah, you passed it, but you didn't get to it. So I have to take at the point. I'm
and the person behind it is a lot like Corina's sons, but this gentleman is, well, he's American, but he's one. But he was an exchange student in Ghana, right, when he was in high school. And then later on, he started doing the same thing because of his passion. He had a background in development. And he went to Ghana, and he is actually producing Ghanaian in Ghana.
I do.
Yeah, he's got a very unique story. Yeah, I think he's a very nice guy. I met him a few years back. I met him. Very much, I mean, his parents when he was in Ghana. Oh, yeah. Exactly. The usual. And he's the only one who's making a difference. Maybe. Because it's so important, though, because when you see the people who are harvesting this thing, working it, and it is, yeah, before you can get something out of it. Yeah, sure. So my meaning, which is, if you forget it, I think it means cheap, But anyway, again, thank you. So I hope that tomorrow is going to be completely well. Yeah.
It's a good thing that everyone is in the
Oh, yeah, it is. And by the way, my daughter's getting married next year in Holland. And I just had the idea since I've been here that maybe what I should do is have like a quantity of chocolate so that you know what I'm saying? So that maybe put on the table or something, kind of have a chocolate thing. And what's the best way to do that to get from you to Europe?
It depends on which type of product you're, but probably definitely feedback.
Okay, good. So I can get like a box or something.
Yeah, you can get boxes.
Okay.
People travel with them a lot.
Okay.
You can very good at packages.
Okay, so you know it's going to go in the airplane and you know that.
Yeah. I mean, tell me. Usually for that, to get over there.
Yeah, and it's no big deal. I mean, they kind of, because Europe is like, ooh, chocolate.
Yeah.
You have to put a,
No. As long as you're not like, I mean, it's a gift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I've traveled with chocolate in and out of Mexico a lot. No one's ever had a problem with you. Sometimes
Good. I can imagine. Yeah. Exactly. Great. Well, thank you again. Yeah. Take care.
Actually, this was promotion as well, and because I know I met them because they had Caribbean Heritage, not today, this was Caribbean Heritage, exactly. Sergio was in there, and his boss, you know? Yeah, that's the boss. So I got so I handle absolutely. Yeah, you're good. You know,
One of the
exactly.
Yeah, no, come on. What's wrong? I think this now. What are you doing up here?
Every time I see it, I'm like, who's this man?
I'm organizing.
I'm sorry? So happy to see you. How you doing? Oh, thank you so much for coming. I look forward to it. Let me have your card. You have any? Let me give you mine. I'm glad you were able to come through. Because I think that you are catering, looking at the fence, you give them that. And then for things like nurturing, stuff like that, you know, there's an audience for it. Exactly. You know, it's good to do that because there's a vacuum. That's a vacuum. And this is the point, is to really kind of basically reflect that all of that is possible. Because a lot of times people think that it's only